Welcome to a program devoted entirely to lefties losing it.
This breakdown is dedicated to leftist meltdowns, media spin, and unfiltered political theatre. Let's dive in.
Let's start with this White House reporter learning an important lesson from Caroline Levitt.
So if there were peaceful protests on Saturday for the military parade, President Trump would allow that?
Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question. Raquel.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
Yes, stupid questions deserve brutal answers. She won't make that mistake again. And now to the ladies of The View. And Whoopi seems to think that California is some sort of a separate country and that the president cannot exercise his power over the rogue state.
Whatever happened to states' rights? I thought that was what you do, because you tell the state, this is what we're thinking of doing. You know, you don't just send people in. You don't just send troops in. But what do I know?
Well, you don't know much, Whoopi. We've worked that out. But if Whoopi's clueless, Sunny Hostin is utterly unhinged. Just listen to this.
You are an army turned inside to police its citizens can cause chaos, fascism. And so I think that's the way, and civil war. Yeah. I think that's the way we need to look at it.
And let's hear from Sarah Haynes, who has some sobering news for the ladies. The great majority of Americans support Donald Trump's policy to deport every illegal immigrant.
66% of the American public actually thinks it is crime enough to be undocumented. And therefore deported.
That it's criminal to be undocumented?
Yes, it is not. You know how the disagreement was in the beginning? We were told it was going to be violent criminals, and I think everyone at this table would agree. Yeah. Haul out the violent criminals, fine. Yeah. But a very important distinction was 60% of the American public, 2/3 of independents, 90% of Republicans, and just a little under half of Democrats think the crime is in being undocumented.
Even if it's a civil offense.
Yes.
Yeah,
so what I'm
true.
saying is a massive amount of this country actually agrees with not how he's doing it, but with what he's doing.
Well, actually, I'd say the majority would be pretty happy with how he's doing it. And I don't know where the ladies of The View were during the election campaign, but Donald Trump was pretty clear that his policy was to deport every illegal immigrant, not just those convicted of additional criminal offences.
Now, from the ladies of The View to the clowns of late night, America's comedy elite are now just activists with punchlines. Jimmy Kimmel leads the cringe parade.
Now, we all know late night TV comics in America have completely lost the plot. They've turned into unwatchable leftist activists spewing all sorts of hysteria and lies. And blackface enthusiast and misogynist Jimmy Kimmel is a prime example.
I've been watching cable news and believe this city is some kind of totalitarian hellscape right now. It most certainly is not. I'm very angry, I have to say. I cannot believe what's going on. I knew it was going to be bad. I did not know it was going to be this bad. People who have lived here their whole lives, people who've been in this city longer than I have, the vast majority of whom have never done anything wrong, are being abducted, which is the correct word to use, by agents in masks, hiding their identities, grabbing people off the street and at work, sending people to detention centers, and to protest that, which is not only our right as Americans, it's our responsibility. Los Angelenos have been gathering to demonstrate, and with very few exceptions, peacefully demonstrate, to voice their opposition to this disgusting and unnecessary abuse of power instigated by our mentally ill president, who is dead set on exacerbating this. Who actually wants conflict, who is intentionally inflaming and lying to make it seem like there's a war going on here. He wants there to be a war going on here, and he doesn't care who gets hurt in it. There's a riot outside.
I can't believe his audience is circling the drain. I don't even know where to start with all that. First, the denial that the riots are even happening, then the demented hysteria about Trump and abductions and civil war. Is Jimmy Kimmel just profoundly ignorant, or is he lying?
While Trump's out there running the country and breaking economic records, Democrats are too busy fanning flames and making excuses for chaos.
The anti-Trump, anti-ICE protests, riots really, have spread to other blue cities. Let's have a look at what's happening in San Francisco. Yep, the violent protests are spreading to Democrat strongholds like San Francisco, New York, Chicago, and even south to Atlanta.
Hold on. Stop. Over there. Camera right there. Holy
Yes, Atlanta is a blue city. Georgia may be red, but Atlanta is not. As some of the violence we're seeing in LA with the use of fireworks to target police and even police horses is extremely dangerous, life-threatening. And the Democrats and their radical violent wing are reminding the world tonight why Donald Trump won the election in a landslide, winning every swing state, the popular vote and the all-important Electoral College with a massive margin of 312 to 226 votes. And the heart of Trump's America First agenda was ending the illegal immigration crisis and deporting the millions who flooded in illegally in recent years. And you will not find a better ad for that policy than the scenes in LA right now. Yes, the lawless thugs are demonstrating precisely why they should be deported and why those who break the law to support them should be locked up. As the National Guard is called in to restore order, the fires continue to burn. Some of these fires have been burning for so long that the cars are almost gone. Look at that. But authorities, the National Guard, will restore order as these rioters found out. Some of these rioters found out.
Coming out. They're coming out. They're coming out. What's that?
And while the Mexican flag was proudly flying throughout these protests, the American flag was really nowhere to be seen unless it was being set alight. Yes, they proudly fly the Mexican flag, but they burn the American one as they riot to stop being deported to Mexico and other countries they hold in higher esteem than America. This is the left. It's what they do, whether it's Antifa, BLM or these lawless thugs. Remember, the violence from the left intensified as soon as Trump became president the first time.
You all right, boss?
Police had to push back the protesters so firefighters could get to the flames.
Watch out. Hey, Easy. Chill, come over.
Small fires had appeared all day. This upped the temperature, which of course was the point.
One demonstrator threw a flashbang grenade back at police. It exploded in an officer's face.
Plenty of tear gas. 6 officers reportedly injured.
Funny how that was never called an insurrection. The Democrats have always fanned this sort of violence. They have incentivized it. They have defended it. And even as LA descends into violence and chaos, they are calling for more. Here's Democrats' LA City Council member Hernandez telling protesters, rioters really, to escalate their tactics.
They know how quickly we mobilize. That's why they're changing tactics. Because community defense works and our resistance has slowed them down before. And if they're escalating their tactics, then so are we. When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
And LA Mayor Karen Bass also defended the protest and trumpeted LA's sanctuary city status.
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos.
You know, it was only last year when Democrat Congresswoman Maxine Waters was accusing Trump of being divisive and engaging in dangerous rhetoric.
I am going to spend some time with the criminal justice system, with the justice system, asking them, tell us what's going on with the domestic terrorists. Are they preparing a civil war against us? Should we be concerned about our safety? What is he doing with this divisive language? It is dangerous, and we're going to have to make sure that we understand that we're not at risk with this man talking in the way that he's doing.
Oh, Maxine Waters had plenty of fears, fevered dreams about Trump and his supporters starting trouble. But it's the left, always the left, resorting to violence. And right there to defend the protesters and defend the rights of illegal immigrants to stay in the country illegally was the Congresswoman. Let's have a listen to Maxine Waters.
Using deportation as a way to enhance his position with all of those right-wingers out there who do not want this country to be a country of people coming from other places. It's outrageous, it is horrible, and we've got to make sure that we do everything that we possibly can, because I think he's up to creating martial law. He even alluded to civil war.
He alluded to civil war. This from the woman who has long championed feral behaviour, who has called for her ideological opponents to be harassed and intimidated, even when they're out for dinner. And now, as California descends into lawless, violent protest, she's fanning the flames with this sort of talk. Here she is asked about the National Guard being called in to restore order.
What do you think about the National Guard being here, Trump deploying them and not our own governor?
Well, the thing about it is, I don't know why they're here with guns. Whom are they going to shoot, and for what? Why the guns? Why are these guns here? That's my question. I don't get why the guns have to be here. We're a sanctuary city. We know Trump doesn't like us. We know that he's going to try to use us as an example.
Is she kidding? Why the guns? Why are they there? Because violent miscreants have taken over the streets. They're attacking law enforcement and generally being lawless thugs. Does she expect the National Guard to go in there with teddy bears and hug these criminals into submission? And if that wasn't enough, Maxine then showed up at a detention centre and tried to use her congressional authority to gain access. It didn't go too well. As the kids say, not today, Satan.
No, I want you to... Hello, hello, hello. Congresswoman Waters, I just came to use my congressional authority to check on these.
Ma'am, we're lobbying securely now to all visitors.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public affairs.
I need to get in.
That was pretty delicious footage at the end there.
The left says this is about rights, but what you're seeing is lawlessness, delusion, and denial, and the Democratic Party is marching lockstep with it.
The hopeless LA mayor has called for a curfew as the violence and destruction continues, but don't tell Maxine Waters that. No, the veteran Democrat Congresswoman claims there's no violence.
Even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot, nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. And I went from downtown detention back out into the community, talking to people what happened in Paramount, what happened in Compton, what happened in Inglewood. So, first of all, get it straight. And don't just rely on what you're being told or the few incidents that you saw.
Yeah, no violence, y'all. Just believe Maxine Waters. Don't believe your lying eyes. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi is wondering whether all the violence and arson is the work of mysterious anarchists, or is it just the exuberance of the moment?
When there is a gathering, a large gathering of people, the anarchists see it as an opportunity and they move in. So always have to be careful whether you see a burned car, a broken window, or whatever it is. It may be the exuberance of the moment, but it may be the anarchist setting in.
Exuberance of the moment, unbelievable. But the lies did not stop there from Nancy. She also said this earlier today, and what you're about to hear is the opposite of what actually happened on January 6th. You know, the only riot in the past decade the Democrats haven't loved.
On January 6th, with violence against the Constitution, against the Congress, and against the United States Capitol, we begged the President of the United States to send in the National Guard. He would not do it. Not only would he not do it, when law enforcement people were being harmed, some later died, he would not send it in.
Where does one start? No, Nancy did not request the National Guard. It was Donald Trump who urged their use. It was Nancy Pelosi, who was Speaker then, who ignored that urging and ignored the desperate calls of the Capitol Police Chief, who wanted backup. And of course, no cops were killed on January 6th or because of January 6th. All these people do is lie. And these protests, these riots are spreading to other Democrat strongholds like New York, Chicago, San Francisco. Let's see this interaction in New York. And doesn't this sum up the anti-Trump left? Watch these two white protesters mock a black woman who just wants to go to work to feed her kids.
I don't care. I know, and these people are having their children taken. But what about my kids? Today, and what happens to my kids? I can't help it. But you can if you could just move out the way. We're not going to. How is this a peaceful protest if there's nothing to do?
Not only do they ignore her pleas and lecture her that this is peace as they block the roads, they then laugh at her for wanting to go to work.
How do you all as white people feel about stopping a black woman from going to work?
Oh no, not work. I care so much.
So you don't care about stopping black people from going to work?
And this is what immigrant voters really think about Donald Trump's immigration and deportation policy. Take it away, CNN.
Immigrant citizens, immigrant voters, foreign-born voters have gone tremendously to the right on this issue in 2024 and 2025 versus where they were in 2020. Closest to or trust more in immigration. You go back to 2020. Democrats, get this, held a 32-point lead on this issue. Immigrant voters were in the Democratic camp. Jump forward to 2024, 2025. Look at that shift, a 40-point shift to the right among immigrant voters. Republicans now lead on this issue by 8 points over Democrats, more so than any other group that I could find. The group of voters who became more hawkish on immigration were in fact immigrants themselves, immigrants who are registered to vote in this country.
From Kimmel to Congress, from rioters to reporters, the left has made one thing clear. They've lost the plot. Which meltdown was the most unhinged? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more unfiltered truth every week.